Hey guys, it's time to really thrash on this Glastron. It's early May. Matter of fact, it's May 4th. Yesterday was my son's 13th birthday. I now have a teenager. We were supposed to be at the lake all day today with his friends and all that stuff, out enjoying the weather, but was it Thursday night? A huge cold front came through and we had record low temperatures. Yesterday morning here, I do believe, was 36 degrees in Frisco. The wind blew all day. It was cold. Today's kind of nice, but it's still in the 60s and probably won't be about 71, 72. A little too cold to be at the lake. So we canceled those festivities, moved them till next weekend, and Dad and I are going to thrash really hard on this Glastron today, or this weekend. All we have left to do is assembly. There's no more really building to do at all. It's just screwing things back together. And I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. Well, I have probably 99.9% all the parts we need to make this happen. So we're going to get really going this weekend, and hopefully, maybe, we'll see, we might have the engine back in, but we'll see. If tomorrow's a beautiful day, I might just say screw it, go out the lake, I don't know. But we're just going to get as much as we can done today. It's Saturday, it's a little cool outside. I don't feel so bad that I'm not at the lake, so now we're going to really get going. So what's on the agenda? First of all, rub rail. I got the rub rail in. A lot of people ask me, where have I found the rub rail for this Glastron? It seems to be very, very hard to find. I'll post a link on this video and on my Facebook page for people that are looking for this. It's available from a company called Taco Marine out of Florida. You do have to find it through a retailer. I had to special order it. I think it was 120, 130 bucks for 70 feet. It wasn't bad at all, and if you guys need it, let me know. I can order it for you. We're going to install that. We're going to get the transom plate installed. We're going to get it sealed up. Get some of the interior put in, that way we can get the controls put on, you know, kind of just get things put back together. And if all goes well, we'll drop the engine in. But you know how it goes, things get in the way and you never quite get as far as you want. We're going to do what we can. So first things first, let's go look at the rub rail. Okay, so I've started this already, and this really isn't hard. When you have a rub rail, and you notice we installed the aluminum rub rail already with the original screws in the original holes, and then I used a marine sealant on the bottom of this, so that way water doesn't splash up underneath this rub rail. It's clear, so it's real hard to see, but we sealed that a couple of weeks ago. It took us about an hour to reinstall this, but then I had to order this stuff, and it's going on really easy. The stuff is really soft. What I've been doing is I'm taking the bottom little edge. It has two little notches that go in here. I'm doing the bottom edge, and then I'm just snapping in the top as I go. And I tell you, this, if you got arthritis, this is not the job for you. It is very tedious, but it's not like it's ridiculously hard. You just got to go a little bit at a time and just work it in there. Bottom first, and then the top. Okay, it's done. We got the end caps on. These were kind of a pain in the butt to get them exactly lined up perfectly, but you can see the rub rail's on all the way up to the bow. And we got that screwed on. We'll put a little sealant over that and it'll be perfect. Now, for all you really observant people, yes, this rub rail is a teensy bit wider. I have not found the exact width to fit in here at all. And I just noticed this is just a teensy bit wider, but to be honest, I like it because it covers up some blemishes on the aluminum. Kind of gives it a nice fat look too, like a racing stripe down the side. I dig it. Boy, I tell you, remember I was telling you about the wind? Stuff really kicked up all of a sudden. It is big time, probably 25, 30 miles an hour right out of the north. It is not a good day to be out on the lake. So now we're going to start working on the transom assembly. And it's in good shape. We're just going to run some simple green over it, scrub it up really good, make sure it's clean, and then pull the other side out over here, which is behind the boat, clean it up too. And I'll show you install a transom seal, and we'll put some 4200 on it. Yeah, I said 4200, not 5200, because 5200 is like permanent. You'd have a hard time getting it off. Put some 4200 on it, put it in here, torque it down. We have the gimbal assembly sitting on the ground right here along with the seal, and what we've done is we've taken bellows adhesive which is right here, and we ran it on both sides, and we're going to let it dry a little bit because that way allows you to, it's like contact cement, so that way it holds it in place. I've done it a couple of different ways, and this seems to be the best way I've found so far. You just got to get it held on there really, really good, and then once we're done, we're going to run a big bead of 4200 around the whole thing, and then we're going to mount it up, and that's kind of messy. So we'll get back on this as soon as this adhesive dries. Now it's on there. Word of advice, don't stretch it as you're going around, otherwise you'll end up with a lot extra. You want to kind of make sure you kind of squinch it up as you go around by doing this, and that way you end up with it going on perfectly. And by using this technique, this is not going anywhere. So now all we need to do is run, you know, a good sized bead of 4200 around this. Whenever you put it on there, on the transom, it's going to want to squish out, and then you're going to take your finger and just go around the outside of it and squish it up. So far so good. Then once we get it in here, we'll put the block off plate on, and I'm also going to order a new lower shift cable. We're going to go and replace that just because it just does not, it's too stiff and there's a little bit of rust, so I want to make sure that it's okay. You see this right here, this is a little bit of corrosion and stuff. We're going to hit that with some primer and a little bit of black paint real quick just to kind of make it look a little better, but it's not going to hurt anything. It's all going to get all rusty, and not rusty, but dirty and nasty whenever you run the engine anyway. So the outside cleaned up nice though. Don't have to paint it. We're going to run a little polish on it. That's all we have to do. Okay, so now we're ready to mount this transom in. What I've done is I put all my parts in here. I've got my transom plate, I got all my bolts ready to go, all the sockets I need, my driver, and my torque wrench. Make sure you refer to your McCruiser service manual for torque settings. They say, I do believe, 25 to 30 foot-pounds, but please don't take my word for it. Go to the McCruiser manual. We're going to double check before we put it on there. But ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 4200 and put a bead around this all the way around, and then we're going to put a little dab in each one of the holes as we're doing it. And so that way when we put it up in there, it's going to get a nice good seal. Cleaning all this 4200 off the bolt that came through. And we're going to put on a washer. And a big old nut. All we have left are these.
Oh, the bottom ones are the anode nut bolts?
Yeah, those are anodes. Well, it's on. I got this thing on there and torqued. We took some basically paint thinner on rags and went around where it squished out all over the place and just made a nice pretty bead, just to, you know, give it a nice good seal and press it in there good. So got our brand new anodes down there. Here's the interior plate all taken care of. Don't be surprised when you're torquing this down, you kind of hear some creaking and cracking on this fiberglass as you're torquing it down. It's happened to me every time I've been putting these two back together. You get that kind of sound as you're putting it back, so don't worry. So now we're going to start putting some of these interior pieces in. I'm going to put those up there, and then we have to actually screw them in first, and then we have to staple them in the back side. So that's going to be a fun task to do. just like that. Now we have to hook up our air stapler and actually physically stretch this around the inside. I'm going to have to kind of experiment and see what's going to get us a wrinkle-free finish as I do this. Oh, I'm out of staples. Got it. Now it's time to attach the oh crap handle. We got this attached and stretched over, pretty tight. I'm happy with it. It has 2 bolts that go through from behind here all the way. So what I did is I took a screwdriver and I went through the holes and I poked through to get my locating, and then I stuck these through. And beforehand, Dad and I took Meguiar's aluminum polish to this thing just by hand and just absolutely made it gleam. So it looks like brand new. So now we got to find, there we go, trying to get these things on here. And this requires you to hold your mouth and stand a certain way and stand on your head. And
when in doubt, get more power to it.
that's right. There we go. Just beautiful. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I'm cutting out the little hole for our controls for the throttle that have to go in here. I tell you, there's nothing more nerve-wracking than cutting into a brand new piece of vinyl that you just paid a lot of money to have done. Okay, so let's take this piece. Beautiful. That's all we have to do. So what this is the backing plate, and this piece covers it up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to go and actually, you see how kind of warped this is? I'm going to put this, because it looks like a piece of acrylic, and it is kind of broken, and I don't know if we can get a replacement for this, but I'm going to put it between 2 pieces of cloth and take an iron and add some heat to it to see if we can reform this. And it's just a decorative cover that just goes over this to kind of hold it in place. Sure looks nice. I hope we can save it. What a whipping of a day. I tell you, I'd much rather be cutting and glassing stringers than doing what we had to do today. It just seemed like nothing went right at all. Everything I went to do, either I was missing a bolt or it just didn't fit right. It's just very, very frustrating. I'm glad it's over. We didn't get near as far as we wanted to, but and we're not going to be able to this weekend because I had some parts that just didn't work. They were told to me that they'd work. They won't. So let me show you kind of where we are right now and what we still have to do, and we're just going to postpone it for another weekend, I'm sure. Okay, so we have all of the front upholstery in, along with the grab handle all the way around. We have the 2 side pieces in. These were a big problem because my upholstery guy decided to make the top piece wider than the bottom piece, and originally that's not the way they were, and I don't know why he did that, but it's no big deal. What we did is we just modified the back of it so the seat would fit in. The problem is the seat would not fit in. All that from about right here back is not seen. It's actually behind where this back seat goes down. So I had to pull the vinyl off and then recut and then restaple it back down. Doesn't look as good as it did from when he got done with it, but you know what? It's all hidden away. You're never going to do it. And once you put this seat in, you really don't ever take it back out again because everything is accessible back here to the engine. You don't necessarily have to get it out. If you have to pull the engine or do anything to it, you don't have to pull the seat out. The only reason we had it out was to do the floor. So anyway, it's all done. We got the controls mounted over here. And they're done and nice and tight. I tightened them up really good so they're nice and stiff. The cables are nice and smooth. Unlike that lower shift cable that needs to be replaced, they are super smooth. So far we got the teak. I don't know if you can see it or not. We got the teak redone all the way around the dashboard. Dad sanded all that down, put teak oil on it, made it look all nice and pretty. So the only thing we're missing is these little bottom pieces here, but that's the last thing that goes in, and we're actually going to put, see this area right here? That's all going to be carpet, and so we're not going to put anything else in here until we get that carpet underneath there laid. And it'll actually stop kind of right about here because that's where there's another piece. And what that does is that also reinforces the lower piece of the control holder. So that's it for the weekend. We also got the the gimbal housing assembled and put on, and I test fitted the steering, so everything looks good. It's just I expected to get a lot farther, but I was telling Dad earlier today is just this thing just seemed to have fought me every stitch of the way. So we'll as soon as another problem, the block off plate that I ordered was apparently the wrong one. I guess what I ordered was for Alpha 1 Gen 2, and the one I have is an Alpha 1 Gen 1. So I have to order a whole new block off plate this next week. So I can't drop the engine in until we get that block off plate. So typical, this boat has fought us every bit of the way. I just hope that everything goes from here. Once we get this engine in here, we have no more issues. So that's where we stand right now. Not sure when we'll get back on it, maybe sometime next week. Get the bilge pump installed, blowers installed, drop this engine in as soon as I get that block off plate. Hang in there, guys. It'll get done sooner or later. See you next time.